entering the studios of Creative Conversations with Dr. C. You are entering the studios of Creative Conversations with Dr. C.
Welcome to the conversation.
Well, hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of Creative Conversations with Dr. C. I am Dr. C. I'm hoping that you all have had a wonderful week thus far. We're almost to the end of the week. Hopefully a productive week for you guys. We're going to continue this conversation that we had last week in regards to talking about this new book that's coming out. Hopefully we'll see this new book in May 21st. We're already in April, right? So May 21st. So we're going to continue this conversation tonight with a wonderful author who has taken the time to be in this edition. He was in our last collaboration last year, and he was so wonderful to take the invitation again this year to be a part of these talks. So the Love Letter Talks. So I am equally excited about it because he is a wonderful writer. He has a boatload of wonderful books that we'll talk about tonight, but we'll stay focused on the love letter that will be, like I said, will be coming out on May 21st. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. He had a little bit of a snafu, but he is now joining us. So I'm going to bring him on right now. Well, hello, my friend.
How you doing?
I am doing great. I was just telling the audience that we are continuing this conversation from last week. We had our first author that came out, Mr. Royce Dixon Sr., and he was gracious enough, as you were, to accept the invitation to be a part of this anthology. I mentioned when I first came on that this is actually the third book in the Love Letter Chronicles, and you were in the last year's one, and so you took on the invitation again this year to say that you want to be a part of this. So I'm so grateful that you again took on that invitation and wrote such a beautiful piece like you did last year. I told the audience that you have a plethora of books out here. I mean, you have volumes, feels like volumes and volumes. Every time I look up, you got something coming out. So we're going to talk about those books that you currently have out and see what else is on the horizon for you, sir. So I'll let you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into this talk about love letters, about what it meant to you and why you actually decided to want to be a part of this edition again this year. So I'll give the floor to you, Mr. Marc.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Dr. C. I appreciate the invitation. And my apologies for coming in late. Had some computer problems, but with technology these days, it's unpredictable. So
I agree.
Probably God telling me I need a new laptop, but nonetheless, we're here, and I'm grateful and blessed. So I appreciate you having me on the platform again. My name is Marc Beausejour. I am the author of an urban novel series, which is called the Black Cyrano series. And Black Cyrano is sort of like a pen name slash quote unquote alter ego. And the reason I say that is because growing up, and for a little bit of background on me, I'm Haitian American. Both my parents are Haitian, but I was born and raised in Queens, New York. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, right now. So But since I was young, I used to, well, I used to love to express myself. I used to love to tell stories, even though a lot of people around me, my friends would call them tall tales. I used to love to express myself, but I just didn't have an avenue or any type of way to express myself at the time. At first, I tried art, but when I realized very quickly I wasn't an artist, so I tried doing other things. I actually back then I used to love to read a lot of old English books and poetry, and I also used to like to read newspapers. So my favorite newspapers that I used to like to read are the New York Times, the Daily Post, and the New York Post. I used to love to read the sports sections and also the current news of what was going on. If there was a crime that had occurred in my neighborhood, or if there was some new event like that was taking place. I used to like to read about it, and I also like to read the sports section and the comic section. Comic section and the sports section were the two parts of the newspaper that drew me the most because of the creativity. Um, so aside from drawing little comics when I was in elementary school, I was also drawn to another written art form, poetry. And poetry was, I used to love the cadence of poetry, the rhyme scheme of poetry. So that drew me. And then since then, it was like the Lord was telling me, okay, this is how I want you to express yourself. So I immersed myself deep into poetry since at the age of 12, and I would write poems just for myself at first. I wrote whenever I felt a certain way, when I felt angry, when I felt happy, sad, any type of emotions. I channel that into my poetry, but I never used to share it. That all changed when I moved to Georgia, and I was living in Kennesaw. The church group that I was attending at the time, they used to have open mic nights, and then some friends encouraged me to share my poetry out in the open. And at first, I was like, "Nah," I didn't feel comfortable in doing that. But I see the standing ovation, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, we didn't know that this quiet dude could write something like this." And now the Black Cyrano, the beginning of Black Cyrano actually began because, as I stated before, I used to like to read a lot of old English literature. One of the English literature that I used to find attractive, or that I used to read a lot, was Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmond Rostand. And he, among other things, I used to like to read them. And the reason why I used to like to read that particular story was because it was a story about an intelligent, smart soldier and a cunning, wise man who he finds himself at a loss for words when he tries to express himself to a young lady that he has feelings for. But his friend has feelings for the same lady. So his friend didn't know how to tell the young lady how he loved her. So he asked Cyrano to write poems in his name and send them to her. So when she read the poems, or the letters, she fell in love with the words that Cyrano wrote, not knowing that it was Cyrano who actually wrote them. She thought it was coming from his friend. So the reason why I donned myself the name Cyrano or Black Cyrano is because I did a similar experience when I was around 16, 17 years old. It was at a church youth group. We went to a camp, and it was the last day. Body was heading into the bus, and there was a female that I had a special interest for, crush on, as you can, so to speak. And we were all getting in the bus. We were about to go home. So I didn't know how to tell her how I felt. So I wrote a poem and I left it on her seat because I noticed that she sat next to her friend, or her boyfriend was within close range. She came and she saw the letter on her seat, and she opened it and she read it. I was watching her inflections and her reactions, and she loved it. And then I could tell she loved it because of how she was reacting. And then she thought her boyfriend wrote it. And then when her boyfriend said, "No, I didn't write it," everyone said, "Well, who wrote this? This is a great poem." It was then discovered that it was me who wrote the poem. So, I always think back to that account, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a Cyrano of the new age, because when I write, I don't write really for just merely self enjoyment. I write to make other people feel emotions. So I write to make other people feel a certain way, to help them enjoy, teach, educate, entertain, and inspire. So that's one of the reasons why and of course the part came because I'm a Black man who's undertaking this journey of being an author
Hmm.
and being the Cyrano to the world. So the
Yeah.
that's where the name Black Cyrano came from.
Well, it's interesting because the one thing that I pulled from what you just said was a Black man. You know, these love letters. When we did the first one, I said it in the last conversation that I had with Royce last week, and we were talking about the ability to be able to speak our truth. And as Black men, it's hard to kind of put pen to paper and be able to really articulate those feelings on paper. So when you did your first piece in the last book, I told you, I was like, this is beautiful. Like you like it just came together, just like this one that you
Hmm.
did in this book, this series, this part of this book.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
being a Black man, being able to really put it on paper is kudos to you, because we're already in this world that uh, our Black men, our men of color, don't want to express how they feel. So you
Hmm.
got the book early in the sense that, hey, I'm going to put pen to paper and I'm going to show it to this young lady that I have some interest in. But as you evolve, that
Hmm.
evolution is seen so grandly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I saw
Hmm.
the evolution from your last insert in the last book and this one. The first one was
Hmm.
talking about being a Haitian American. This one is talking about a Black man being able to put his feelings on paper, which is
Yeah.
amazing, which is great, because we need to see more of that. You are
Hmm.
not the only Black man in this particular book. We have actually you, Royce, and then we also have, no, actually, we only have two, you guys two. But last time we had three or four. So, like I said, I'm so grateful that you had the opportunity or wanted the opportunity to continue to write and share your story. I always tell people, your writing is your legacy. You know what I'm saying? People will
Absolutely.
know your name. They're going to know Black
Yes.
Cyrano
Yes.
more so than they
Yes.
will know your birth
The
name,
actual
right?
name, Marc
Right.
Beausejour. Yeah, my government.
Your
Yeah.
government name, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we talk about today's world, we're in a time where we
Mhm.
need to be able to be free and be able to put our words on paper, because so much is going on all the time. We don't know, it's such uncertainty in this world now. We don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's a great feeling that you're sharing, because we need to share more. We need to share the ability to say we love one another and not having a hidden agenda behind it, right? It's just really, I
Absolutely.
want you to see what I'm feeling. And it's now more transparent now. It's out there for the world to
Mhm.
see. Our last book that we were in went global the first week that it was out. So I
That's
have
awesome.
no doubt that this will do the same thing. I remember when I asked you when we first talked about it last year, had you ever written a
Mhm.
love letter to yourself? And like most people, they were like, no,
No,
like, what do you mean?
I haven't.
And so, can you just expound on why you decided to want to, from the first book, why did you want to um, put this in pen to paper and do this part of this love letter chronicles? Why?
Absolutely. So I actually, just for reference, I actually took a copy of the book that I was a first collaborator on right here next to me.
Yes.
Lovely. Yes. And the poem I wrote in there was called Unlocking the Inspiration from Within. And it really touched me because, like you said, when you came to me with the invitation, I'd never written in an anthology before. Normally, when I normally write stories that I concocted in my head and then basically just shared it to others. But those stories are purely fictional. The stories have
Mhm.
different characters of their own. They don't have no ties to me personally. So this was
Mhm.
me putting like taking a leap of faith or a step of faith forward in order to share to people a part of me. Every time I write a poem, they're getting a piece of me. So it
Mhm.
took me right back to my roots, where I could actually express myself, and then give encouragement to myself. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you, no one needed healing when I was growing up more than me, I believe, because my childhood was anything but easy. I had a
Mhm.
lot of trials in my childhood. Not a lot of people know this, but I'm sure you people have told you about this. But when I was younger, during my elementary school days, I was bullied relentlessly. Like I was growing up in the neighborhood where I came from, because I wasn't as big as I am now. I was tiny. I was skinny. I was funny looking. So, and I was coming from Catholic school to elementary school too. This was when I between first to sixth grade. So
Mhm.
when I got out of first grade, because Catholic school there was a yearly tuition, my folks couldn't keep me going to that school. And in Catholic school, they were strict. They had rules. Everybody behaved. There was no element of
Mhm.
misbehavior or anything like that. I got out of that, and in the beginning of my second grade year, I was going to public school. Oh
Mhm.
man, when I tell you two different worlds, it was two different worlds, and I
Yeah.
found that out the hard way. I mean, from kids wanting to, and you don't do the first. I remember my very first day of school, right? So we're lining up because they had to separate us into classes.
Mhm.
My very first day, I went up to introduce myself to this one kid, and I just want to be nice. I was not trying to. I didn't mean no harm, but I
Mhm.
guess I don't know what he saw, but I guess they saw it as child's play or horseplay. But the moment I said hi, how you doing, or you know, I, this one kid came up to me and gave me a hard time. I didn't understand why. I was just trying to be nice. And
Mhm.
two other kids came from behind and held my arms. And then that other kid who was giving me a hard time was wailing away at me. So that was my introduction into reality, like right there. And then every day, it was like you want to go to school to learn, but you just
Mhm.
don't want to have to deal with the people, you know.
Mhm.
So every day was sort of like a survival thing. Like I was going to school, but I was running home. I was trying to get out of there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
um, writing in a way became my way to sort of like express myself and to escape from
Mhm.
the torment I was facing every day. And when you approach me to write that love letter to myself, I had to
Mhm.
come to terms to tell myself, hey, you should encourage yourself. You have to think of how far you've come, how far your
Yeah.
parents came to give you the opportunity to be where you are at right now. Yes, you endured some hardships because
Mhm.
kids didn't know who you were. Maybe they were intimidated by you. Maybe they were struggling at home and they were taking out their frustrations and anger on
Mhm.
you. So there's reasons why you people treated you this way. And
Yeah.
writing that letter was really it was soothing for me. And then, like I said, writing that poem, it was like the first original poem that I've written in a long time. So um,
Okay.
I really appreciate you, Dr. C, for allowing me to express myself creatively like that again in poetry form. And I'm glad
Mhm.
that you enjoyed it.
I did. I mean, what I've taken from all of these letters that I've seen and read and had the opportunity to read people's deep thoughts and their
Hmm.
traumas, and like you being bullied and just don't know that they are good enough. This is the end results of what bullying looks like, right? Because it's happening. It just didn't happen in your time. It's happening right now. It's
Hmm.
happening so much that we're seeing an increase in suicide from very young on. I mean, it's just it's scary because um it's almost like the norm now, right? And it should never be the norm. It should never be the norm that you like you said, you're supposed to go to school to learn. You're supposed to evolve and be, um, gain friends and start to grow into who you are. And so
Hmm.
being able to provide this almost an escape, but
Hmm.
also a way to be able to express yourself and feel good about how the end result, right? But
Hmm.
it's this story that you're telling is not the end story. You know what I'm saying? Look what
Hmm.
you've become, and truly I've been able to read a few inserts of your books, and I'm telling you, you are gifted. I always say those who are being picked on or being picked on by somebody else, they're lacking something because they see goodness in you. So they want to tear you down and make them seem big, but in reality, they're hurting too, and they just don't know an outlet for it. And your outlet was to write, which I am so grateful that you. I'm not grateful for the bullying, but I'm grateful for the outcome of the writings that you have produced over the years. Like I said when I started off, you have a plethora of books out here.
Yes.
We'll talk about those, but I want to also talk a little bit about the new piece that you have in the new book, and
Yes.
I will show the cover of that before we end this conversation. But are you able to share a little bit of just a little bit? I don't want you to see
You know,
you
I come
you get
ready.
the
I come
homework.
ready.
I ain't
I
got to
come ready.
tell you. I
I
got
come
to
ready.
tell you.
Nah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And shout out to Royce. I did watch his interview. I know he didn't have his, but you know,
Oh, okay.
come prepared, my brother. Next time, come prepared. I love you, Royce. All
Look,
love, though.
you knew the assignment. You knew the
I,
assignment.
I knew
Okay.
the assignment. I knew the
All
assignment. Yes,
right.
yes, ma'am. But yeah, so my poem in this new anthology is titled "Strength in Healing One Another." So the last poem I wrote was really me reflecting on unlocking my inspiration from within. Here, this is where I'm actually encouraging my brothers and sisters out there in the world who may
The
be reading.
evolution.
Yes, yes.
The
So
evolution.
yes, this evolution. So it's called Strength in Healing One Another. In the first couple of lines in the poem, I'm going to read just the first two lines, but it reads as follows. Take a look into my eyes, my sister. I can see that you're distressed. Your relationship's a mess. You've regressed in your faith with no rest. So that's talking about a sister who's really tired and weary of how things are going in her life. And her, she don't know if her man is stepping out on her, if her man is cheating on her. And then at the same time, her relationship with God or whatever faith base that she has is failing because she just don't know who to believe in. She don't know who to lean on, and no rest. How many women are keeling over from depression or keeling over from lack of sleep because they're so busy trying to take care of their family. They're so busy trying to work. Some of them are working. There you go. Some of them are working one or two jobs. So I wanted to kind of reach out to the sisters out there who are working really hard and say, hey, my sister, take rest. Know that you are loved. You are appreciated. Love yourself. Give yourself some time. Go on vacation. Um, feel free to kick your feet up once in a while. You don't have to stress yourself out. So that's one of the things I want. So it's like half and half. So the top half was written for the women, and then I wrote sort of like the middle half for the guys. A couple other lines from the poem that I want to share. It reads as follows. A brother who has shared from the same cup of heartbreak and early pain, chained by the nation's excess, repressed by past regrets, hard falls like rain. I love that. So that means a brother who shared from the same cup of heartbreak and early pain. Hey, us brothers go through heartbreak too, believe it or not. Hey, it's not only us breaking women's hearts. Hey, women break our hearts too. We're emotional too. Even though sometimes we're too prideful to show that we're crying or that we're grieving or that we're trying to be manly. We don't want to express emotions. But hey, we grieve too. We show emotion too. We're sad too. So this is basically the peeling back of this is showing that we're vulnerable basically. So I wanted to paint vulnerability in the brother. And then chained by the nation's excess. When you think about the nation's excess, our brothers, sometimes we tend to mask our pain in different ways. We mask our pains through food. Sometimes we overeat. We mask our pain through buying jewelry, trying to overcompensate for our lack of self-confidence. A lot of brothers buy jewels, buy chains, buy earrings. As you see me, I'm Black Cyrano. I have the hat, which is a prototype, by the way, but I don't have no jewelry. I don't have no chains. I don't feel the need to sport any of that because I'm confident in who I am. I don't feel like I have to flaunt anything for you or shine or I remember a long time ago in the early 2000s, bling was a word. I remember I used to try to fit in with the Joneses back in the day, or I used to try to want to be, and that was my problem. I was trying to fit in, But Black Cyrano, the essence of Black Cyrano is to be your own unique person. Don't try to fit in with nobody else. Be you. And if you're your own person, people's going to gravitate to that. You're going to become a trendsetter yourself. People's going to take your confidence and they're going to run with it, and they're going to accomplish great things that they haven't accomplished before or haven't even thought of accomplishing. So that's the idea behind the Black Cyrano. And that's why I wrote the other half for the brothers as well.
Yeah,
I don't want to give too much of the poem away.
Yeah, don't get too much of it, because those few lines was enough to bring people to the table and say, well, let's see what the rest of it looks like. What I did get from that is being authentic.
Yes.
Sometimes we follow this trend and we want to fit in, like you said, like the Joneses. And what else what you said that really struck a chord in me was the fact that you said that men in general put up this facade, and I'm just going to play a plug on what you said, unmasking. I have a book called Unmasked, and
that's what I was thinking about too when I was describing it.
At the end of the day, we need to learn how to pull back the layers of that onion and really dig deep to the core of who we are. Are we really trying to fit in because of, as you say, the bling, or want to be like the Joneses? But it's really more fashionable to be authentically you, because God created you in his image, but he also allowed you to be you. So being you is authentic, and being able to be vulnerable, as you said, as a Black man, that's the key to that. We need to have the space for our men to be able to pull back the layers of that onion and to dig deep and make you feel like you are wanted, that you're loved, and that it's nothing wrong with the fact that you want to show the softer side of you, which is great. We want to see that. I said in the last podcast with Royce, I said, I remember being at this event talking about men mental health, and that's a big plug for me. And we'll talk a little bit about some things that you're doing with some men mental health with our sister Pamela James Coleman. Yes. So I remember I said this last week, and I said, at this particular event, it was talking about men's mental health and the importance of us giving them the room to be able to express themselves. And I remember one person in the audience asked the question, what do we do as spouse or girlfriends or whatever, significant others? What do we do? And I said, sometimes you just got to be quiet.
I remember, right? I heard that, right? I watched,
yeah. And so at the end of the day, I think sometimes we just need, I'll keep saying it, and I'm probably going to get banned or whatever, but we definitely need to be able to give you the space. And so I'm hoping that this book will allow more people to come to the table and be their authentic self, and give them the space to be able to write down what they're feeling. I can't express it enough. Therapy is so important. And stop thinking about the financial pieces of it. You are worthy of it. You're worthy of it. You are worth being able to speak your truth. And that person is right there for you to be a person that has the interest in you, but they don't have the interest in saying, well, No, they're here to hear you. And so I will push therapy.
Not to cut you off, but there is a saying, you can't put a price on a peace of mind.
And peace of mind is important. I remember just this week I posted about peace, having a peace of mind, and starting your week off having peace. It is priceless. Your peace is priceless, and I'll take it any day of the week, right? But I want to again stress the fact that these books that I'm coming out with, these anthologies that I'm coming out with, is solely free. I want people to be able to leave legacy through writing, through writing becomes healing. And that's the piece that we want to be at. Again, I'm not politically driven, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's my podcast. But anyway, we're in a time and a place right now that we need to join together. We need to learn how to heal one another. And if healing comes in writing, then let's do that. If that means that I'm gonna reach out to you, Marc, and say, hey, Marc, I'm just calling because I just love you, my brother. I just want to make sure you're mentally stable and everything is good with you. We need to start doing that on a regular basis, because we're in a time where it's uncertainty. We don't know if we're gonna have a job. We don't even know if we're gonna have a place to lay our heads at. So I think continuing, this is a movement for me. This Love Letter Chronicles is a movement for me, and I will continue to do this until I cannot do it anymore. I'm probably passing on to somebody to do it, because I think it's worthy of allowing people to express themselves, allowing them to have a space that is not judgmental, that people are really wanting to do these things. And the authors that are in here, some of them have never written before in their lives. I have one author that's in here, Miss Ann Dyson. She'll be coming on May 15th, and she has never written before in her life.
Wow.
Even with the last book, we had, I think we had about 18 people, and several of those people had never written before in their life. So I'm going to keep on doing this as long as I can, because I think it's important. I think it's worthy of people being able to express themselves. Oh, I want to say hi to our sister. She published in his own. Thank you for joining us.
How you doing?
I appreciate you. The support is always there every time, and I appreciate you, my sister. And actually, she's a part of this anthology as well too.
I saw that.
So I'm excited about what this movement is going to look like, and how it's going to unfold, and how many people we're going to touch with these books. But with that being said, I talked a little bit about Pamela James Coleman. She is also in this book this time around too, and she does a wonderful job of as being an advocate for men mental health. And I know she is. You're a part of two of her books. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yes. So I wrote in her first. I wrote last year in an anthology for her too, Unspoken. It's okay not to be okay. And so in that book, it's not a poem. So this one is actually basically me explaining my accounts of being bullied at an early age. And I was very transparent, because when you're bullied, there's definitely things you remember. They're so traumatic that you remember what was said. You remember the person that did it. You remember the words that were exchanged between you two. So I was very descriptive in my account and that I wrote in her book. And it was my first time that I ever went into detail with that in writing to anybody. I've never shared that with anyone else. Now, I may have hinted it through a character in some of my books, which I will talk about later, but I've never personally said I've went through these things. So when Pamela approached me to write about male mental health, I remember the effects that the bullying had on me. People say, well, what does bullying have to do with mental health? Believe it or not, because of what I experienced, I could not properly show emotion to other people. I couldn't even hug somebody straight up until later on in life, because it was hard for me to trust people. I just had no trust in anyone at all. I was more introverted than I probably should have been. Anytime people want to say, hey, Marc, let's go out. Hey, Marc, let's kick it. Let's do this. Let's do that. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like somebody has an agenda, or there's someone. I just had no trust in anyone. So believe it or not, it does affect you mentally when you get bullied, because you just grow up just not knowing what the person you're associating with, what they really want out of you. So you don't trust nobody. You don't have, and it's tough. So going into detail with that was hard, but
it was therapeutic for you, though, right?
Yes, it was very therapeutic, and it helped. It could help somebody else. So I just thought about who I could help. Maybe somebody else out there has my story, but they don't have the courage or the voice to express it. So maybe my writing can help them express how they're feeling or voice their experiences. So that's really what drove me to take part in her anthology.
Yeah, it's almost being, you're the voice to the voiceless. And those scars that are unseen to the world, they can't see it, but you can see it and you can feel it. And again, we want these writings to be therapeutic for somebody, to be able to save somebody from jumping off the ledge, right? We want to ensure that we're expressing ourselves in a transparent way so they can see us, see our hearts from the paper. And that's what we want. We want to make sure people know that these are real writings from real people who've experienced these things in their lives. And so if we can share those with people, we can potentially help somebody
Absolutely.
in the long run. And so that's one of the biggest things for me is I want to ensure that I'm helping somebody. I've been in healthcare for over 40 years. So I don't know no other way
Wow.
but to help. And
Yes.
so, and also being obedient to what God had put on my heart to do. So I want to make sure that if we can touch, if it's just one person, if it's two people, I want to make sure that these books are in the hands of the people that need them, because uh, we need to start writing our love letters and really
Yeah.
understanding love letters don't mean that you got to write a love letter to your boo, to your
Mm-hmm.
girl, you know,
Mm-hmm.
none of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a love letter to you, because once you start doing that and you go back, like I saw
Mm-hmm.
the evolution in you with your first writing and now this writing. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the people that were in the last book and the evolution in them. And that's why it's so
Mm-hmm.
important that to keep on writing, keep, if
Mm-hmm.
you doodle and put it on a sticky note or whatever, go back and look at those writings and see how far you've come. And
Yeah.
so remembering that the love letter is not just to your boo or to your girlfriend or your husband or your wife or whatever. It's really for you, really
Mm-hmm.
to really affirm who you are and why you're important to this world. And so
Absolutely.
I know Pam has another one that's coming out. I have already come out. Are you in that book as well too?
Yes, so that one is also called Unspoken. I don't remember the subtitle to that, but that one like is
Okay.
another part of Unspoken in the Unspoken series. So
Oh,
that
unspoken real talk. That's it.
okay, real talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Did she send you the message or did
No, no,
you
no, 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 no.
okay.
I do my homework. Mark,
Oh yeah, you on
I
it.
got
You're on
you
it,
a
Dr.
whole list
C.
of
You're on
everything,
it, Dr. C. I
everything
know,
you
no. You're on it, Dr. C. I already know. I already know. But absolutely, yes. I'm yeah. So Unspoken Real Talk, I'm actually in that too, and pretty much have my same account there. But
did.
like I said, if it could touch one or two people, I felt like I've done my job because
Hmm.
it's something that I feel like should be read and something that people really can reflect upon and be like, hey, maybe
Hmm.
that's my experience. Maybe this is why I'm having a tough time trusting somebody because somebody has treated me inappropriately or somebody has
Hmm.
reacted violently to me and then I didn't tell nobody. I kept it quiet.
Hmm.
So
But you're
maybe
speaking
I'm
up
giving
now.
that voice. I'm speaking up
You're now
now. And
speaking up
that's the
now.
important thing. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the
exactly.
important thing. But I want people to really see the effects of bullying. Like it took
Yeah,
you for a long extended time
long
to
time.
really be able to trust and be able to put those feelings on paper. And now here you are in what, one, two, three books, three anthologies.
It's crazy.
Well, four actually now, because you have two with
Well,
me
for
and two with Pam. So
to
four,
it,
four
yes.
anthologies. And look what you probably don't even know how many people you are actually helping. All those men that are in those anthologies, and even in these books, how many people you are helping. And like I was telling somebody the other day that I just got notification that this book, the last book, the one that you just, A Love Letter to Ourselves, was sold in Australia.
Wow.
So we're hitting
Okay.
places that you probably wouldn't even think of, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, what drew them to that, so
Yes.
whatever that is, I want to keep on figuring out whatever that is so that we can keep on doing what we're doing to help so many more people. I told
Yes.
Royce last week that there's going to be another one. I'm,
Okay.
like I said, I'm gonna keep doing it until I can't do it anymore. I see that we have some guests out here. I see we have She Published, and there's somebody else out here. If you have any questions that you want to ask Mark, please put them in the chat so that we can ask him, so that he can give you that answer right now. So let's go on. Let's talk a little bit about some of the books that you have. Like I said, you have. Let me see. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You about got 7 that I can read that are solely
Yes.
outside of the 4 that we just talked about?
Yes. So actually, I have 9. I have 9 books total.
Oh,
So,
me, I missed you. Oh,
well, no, well, so my first 2 books were self-published. This was before I
okay,
got into sheet publishing. I got one of
okay.
them right here, which is called Rising Higher Than Ever. It's not. It's actually the sales has stopped because I'm not with that publisher anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
it's actually a poetry short story book. So it's a spiritual
Okay.
poetry short
Mm-hmm.
story book, and it
Mm-hmm.
has 20 poems in here. And these are poems I wrote during my early 20s, and I just
Okay.
basically put a short story behind it, and then also have some author reflections at the end of each chapter, which is typically accompanied by a biblical verse or some. So, growing up in a church and then reading the Bible, so and so, you kind of unpick up things and then
Of
you can tie
course.
them to the story. So that's what Rising Higher Than Ever is about. That was my actual first book, right? Well, Words on High was my first book. This is my second book. I don't have a copy of Words on High on me, but now my first novel that you was referring to is called The Preacher's Web. So this is actually the first book that I wrote back in 2015. Again with my old publisher, which is an urban novel about a pastor who
Mm-hmm.
is actually called upon to testify against basically a young boy who's accused of murdering his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But even though the court of public opinion has already um, deemed him guilty, the pastor has been told through an anonymous tip that he's in fact not guilty. He's
Mm-hmm.
innocent. But the pastor is putting his reputation on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's in a community that's already messed up. It takes place in Queens, New York, but he's in a community that's ravaged by gangbangers, teen prostitutes, drug
Mm-hmm.
dealers, and he's trying to preach a message of love and forgiveness. But then at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, he's called upon to testify against this young man who was accused of murder, and his testimony can make or break the case,
Mm-hmm.
and then could either send him to prison, the young man who was accused,
Mm-hmm.
or exonerate him, but make the pastor himself sort of like public enemy number one. So that's why I call it the preacher's web. And then there's other stories that cross with his stories as well, which is why it's a
Okay.
web. So that's one of my best books. Every event I go to, it seems like these books always sell out or are close to
Yeah, I
selling
think
out.
we first met
So
at IBE last year.
yes, yes.
And yeah.
Yeah, I sold out of Preacher's Web went out like hotcakes, so you already know. And then my second book is Adia's Ballad. So this is the follow-up to the Preacher's Web. And it's actually based on the sister of the victim from the Preacher's Web. It's how
Mm-hmm.
she copes with the tragedy of losing her older sister. So she becomes a singer. She sings to kind of help her with her grief. And
Mm-hmm.
then she gets discovered in a talent show by a record label, and she blows up. She becomes an R&B star, but then she discovers some dark secrets behind the music industry. So this is actually a pretty good book as well. Very popular among my female readers. They love Adia's Ballad. I've actually gifted this to young girls who graduate and are ready to take the next step in life, whether it's from high
Mm-hmm.
school or from college, because this is a coming of age story. So Andrea McAfee, her stage name is Adia, which is why it's called Adia's Ballad. This is her coming of age, basically. Her learning to basically deal with the grief and cope with it while trying
Mm-hmm.
to navigate her career as an R&B star. So that was my second book.
Okay.
And this was actually challenging because I wrote it from a female perspective. So it actually, asked me to do almost something difficult, which is like to tap into the feminine psyche. So,
Of course. The softer
but
side of you.
yes, yes. So it's challenging, but I love it. As an artist, as an author, you have to challenge yourself to do
Of
things
course.
that you never thought you
Creativity.
could do. Creativity.
Yes.
And then you know what's coming next. You got the award-winning novel coming up, Fires of Justice. I'm sure you've seen this before. So this book, which I'm proud to now say is an award-winning book, it actually placed in the For the Culture Book Awards, which is held by Rhonda Lawson and Meet the World Image Solutions. And you were there, Calenthia, at my moment when I was announced as one of the winners, which I never thought I would win. It was crazy. But it's a
Mm-hmm.
book about a black English teacher, who moves from New York to Georgia, and he becomes like an object of desire by one of his white students. And then she pursues him, and then after a physical confrontation, he's arrested and he's put in prison. And this book kind of deals with the psychological warfare he deals with behind bars, And at the same time, his wife hires a private eye to investigate like a plot to have him framed. So that's why it's called Fires of Justice. It's also one of my best-selling books as well, and now an award-winning novel. So.
Yeah. If you're joining us, please let us know where you're calling from. If you have any questions, please, put the questions in the chat so that we can ask Mr. Mark. If you have any questions, please put them out there so they can answer them for you.
Yeah. And can you read the questions to me,
I sure
Dr.
can.
C? Because okay.
You can
And
see
then
them. Yep.
yeah. And then I got my next book here, which is Split Decision. It's actually my first sports novel. So while I was writing, I actually took a membership at UFIT, and I love to box. So I had a boxing trainer that was with me, and boxing was an art to me. So there's an art form to it, and I was so attracted to it. And I also loved the movies Rocky and Creed. So with the level of boxing I had, I decided to make a story about a Haitian American boxer who was going for the middleweight title, but then he gets involved with a young lady from back in his childhood. They meet up again years later, and then they fall in love. But what he doesn't know is that she has ties to his next opponent, who happens to be the middleweight champion, and he has to go against him. So now he's given an ultimatum. Yeah, now he's given an ultimatum. Hey, win the title, but we may end up doing something to you, or lose on purpose, and then nothing will happen. So that's why it's called Split Decision. It's a play on words. So, and then I wrote the follow-up to that, Split Decision 2, which is actually, it takes place 6 years later, after the events of Split Decision, where he comes out of retirement. But the comeback is harder because not only has he been out of the ring for so long, but his trainer is also dealing with mental health issues, which actually becomes a bigger subject because that's one of the things that Pamela Coleman really stressed on, male mental health. And I touch on it in this book because his trainer deals with some mental issues, which was spurred on by the death of his son. So the trainer's son passed away by a car accident, early on in his life. And he hasn't been the same since then. So I actually go into it in this book. So very, very poignant tale as well. And then I got Street Retribution, which is actually since it's a whole series, but Street Retribution actually picks up directly after Adia's Ballad, where it's many years later. And then one of the witnesses of that same trial that Pastor Mike testified, there was a key witness, and the key witness happens to be a former gang member, 14-year-old Antonio Franks. But he had to change his name because he had to enter witness protection after he actually dimed out the gang leader in the trial. So he changed his name to Edward Reed. So this book takes place many years later. Edward Reed is now a lawyer in New York. And he's trying to navigate, but somehow the gang leader gets out of prison on a loophole, and he's hunting him down. So once he gets wind that Antonio Frank's still alive, there's a bounty out on his head. So that's what Street Retribution is about. It's about the bounty that's on Edward Reed's head. So very poignant book as well. Very suspenseful. It's like my first crime novel. Directly, yeah. So
you are very talented. You don't stick with the same genre, which is great.
Nah, I'm all over the place.
But it allows you to be able to express your creativity in the different genres, which is amazing. Some people, you have authors who stay in the same genre forever and don't want to
branch out
their comfort zone. But with me listening to the narratives of what these books are about, you have a plethora of things that are not just one-sided. You have facets of what you do as an author, which is great because, again, as being an author, there's creativity that comes along with that. So kudos to you.
There's many different point of views. So every story is told from a different side, a different point of view. Different. Yeah. So that the characters. The thing about it is because of the Preacher's Web and the unexpected success of that. As far as success, not just the sales, but as far as like the success of the characters, like how I was able to develop those characters, they created stories of their own. So that's why all these sequels came up. It was just so easy just to make the other stories. And last but not least, I got one more, which was my most recent one, Divine Vengeance. So this one was actually the last and final book of the Black Cyrano series, and this one
Mhm.
is actually about Edward Reed finding out that he's of course, there's a bounty on his head, but instead of waiting to actually get killed, he decides to go on the offensive, and he decides to fight back. So this is the story, and this ends everything because you know, it's like everything comes to a head in Divine Vengeance without giving away too much. But basically, one of the gang members, his name is Chris, who's actually the son of David Anderson, and he's the kid in the middle.
Mhm.
He was a former gang member, but Edward Reed was able to get him out and get him raised by a new family. So Chris has to adjust to life, going to a new school, dealing
Mhm.
with new friends, and he has a job now. So he's working. So he's trying
Mhm.
to live right, but his old life keeps tugging him back. The life of the streets keeps tugging him back. So
Mhm.
this is what Divine Vengeance is about. And then Andrea is reintroduced back in the story too from Medea's ballad. She comes back because remember her sister was killed by the
Right.
gang.
By the
So
game.
she wants vengeance, and she finds out that the person who she thought was the killer of her sister actually wasn't the killer. It was somebody else. So
Mhm.
now she's out to get vengeance however she can. So this kind of brings it all together.
I mean, it's just a spinoff. Like
Yes.
being having the creativity to be able to do that, to be able to start a character in another book and spin them off into another book, which allows that series to keep growing.
Yes.
It's amazing. Again, kudos to you and as being a now award-winning author, being able to spread your message not only in this series but in the other anthologies that you have been a part of. So I thank you for all that you've done over these last few years. And just for me, just saying thank you for again accepting the invitation to come be a part of the anthology, this Love Letter Chronicles. This again, I can't stress it enough. This is a movement. This is something that I'm going to continue to do as long as I can do it. But I want to
Awesome.
ask you to just for parting words. We're almost done with this conversation, and then
Yes.
we'll show the actual book cover so people can see the book cover, and also letting you guys know when it actually does come out. And
Mhm.
but before we do that, I want to give you the opportunity to say your words, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, I don't want to say too much, but I do want to express my gratitude to for you yourself, Dr. C. Colinthia. I appreciate you reaching out to me, and you were actually one of the first authors for She to reach out to me because I actually officially signed with She Publishing November of 2023. Shout out to Shanita. I know she's
Mhm.
watching.
Yes.
I actually signed with her officially in November. I think it was December that you sent the email that you wanted people to help you with this anthology, and you mentioned my name. I was like, "Who is Colinthia? I haven't even met nobody yet." But then when she forwarded the email to me, she says, "Hey, I have an author here, Dr. Colinthia Miller, who wants to ask you to be in this anthology since you're part of the family." I'm like, "Wow, my first." I've never been in an anthology before, the first invitation so just making me feel like family. I
Mhm.
appreciate that, and it made me feel like I was needed, like I was wanted, and that I was a vital part of this movement that you're starting
Mhm.
to raise awareness not only on mental health but on loving yourself and on writing letters to yourself, and encouraging yourself. So I want to express my gratitude and say thank you for reaching out to me, for inviting me to do this. And I want to thank my She family as well, Shanita, for taking a chance on me, and for investing in me and for your collaboration.
Mhm.
And the work paid off because under the She family, I finally achieved one of my goals, which was to become an award-winning author, and it happened. It happened. It didn't. It happened in less than a year, surprisingly. Well, about a year. I would say about a
Mhm.
year, but it's
Mhm.
still it happened, and I couldn't have
Mhm.
imagined anything better. You know, but I appreciate the support. I appreciate the the love that I received from all the different members. I want to shout out Shartia, who has introduced me to Shanitha, who actually helped uh, make the transition much smoother. I want to shout out Royce, my brother in authorship. Royce, his wife Lisa, they've been so accommodating. Every time we do events together, we always commune, fellowship, what have
Mm-hmm.
you. And definitely want to shout out Pamela, of course, who was especially a huge help in, I believe, was it DC? Yeah, DC, because when we had transportation issues, people had to get their posters and things um, transported back and forth between the hotel and the venues.
Mm-hmm.
Pamela was a huge part. She said, no problem, I'll get your poster and your stuff. I'll put it in my car because there's no room in the transportation vehicles that they have assigned us and everything. She was a huge help in that aspect. So I want to thank her for that. So that just shows that there's strength in family, and it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
have to be just blood family.
agree.
It's a emotional lift that we give each other when we do things like it, and it's helped me. It's made it easier for me to support other authors and for me to support other people. So definitely, I want to thank them, and forgive me if I forgot anyone else, in the shout
You're
outs.
fine. I want to just piggyback off just a little bit about when you were talking about family. It's important that that we spread that we can't say it so easily because family, as you said, doesn't necessarily have to be blood.
Mm-hmm.
It can be anybody that um,
Who's impacted you emotionally?
right. And
Who's
so I will say, as an author, being my first time being an author and coming aboard with she, the warmth, the love, the engagement, the constant support was always there from day one. I cannot speak enough goodness about Shanitha Finesse, which
yes.
she published, and she is amazing.
And,
And
oh, and Mama She too. Forgot
I
about
was
her.
about to say Mama She too.
Mhm,
It's truly a family affair, and
mhm,
so I want to give her flowers
mhm.
while she's here to be able to smell them herself.
Yes.
She has done a phenomenal job at She, and she'll be celebrating She 5 years this month, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
I think I saw that at the
this
end.
month.
Is it at the end of this month? I believe.
Yes,
Like,
the end of this month. So
mhm.
kudos to her. She has done an amazing job
Congratulations.
in the last 5 years, especially when you're talking about creating a company in the midst of COVID.
Yes.
The ability to continue to move and grow and engage and allow people to share their stories is amazing. So I want to
Yeah.
give her flowers and let her
Yes.
know that I love you, my sister. You are doing the thing. I don't want to curse
Yes.
on this podcast, but But anyway, you're doing the thing. I truly appreciate who you
Yes.
are and what you have represented in me, in my life, and in my journey as being an author and now a owner of a publishing company, and being able to sit on this platform and talk to my brother in authorship that came through She. So I thank you for all that you do and the many lives that you'll continue to touch while you're doing this.
I
So
also want to add one more thing real quick.
sure.
The fact that, just real quick, the fact that Shanita was able to jumpstart She Publishing in the midst of COVID just says a lot about her dedication and her commitment
And her
to putting
tenacity.
authors to put in a tenacity. Because think
Yeah,
about it, COVID was a time where a lot of businesses are tanking because they're losing businesses
I
because
agree.
of COVID ravaging. You see foreclosures, you see businesses being
Hmm.
bankrupt left and right, but she's
Hmm.
able to take this and build it up, and then it's continued to increase and continue to
Hmm.
grow and expand, and now there's branches coming out of it. You got your publishing company, Allure Publishing. Aloja, she has her publishing company.
Hmm.
Pamela is starting her movement.
Yeah.
Her
Yeah.
yeah. So you see, it's like a phoenix rising from the flames almost.
There you
That's what
go.
it's image. That's the image that comes up in my head when I think about She Publishing.
But
So
what
I
I will
appreciate
say
it.
is, and I'll show the book after this, and this the before I close up, I will
Yes.
say that the gala that is going to be happening in September, in
Hmm.
Chicago, I will tell you, when I first attended the first one 3 years ago, I had never seen a bunch of beautiful people in one space that made
Wow.
me proud to be this color. You know, it was just
Right.
amazing to see such great talent in one room. And that's
Yes.
because of her vision, her and her mom's vision, to showcase our talent as
Mhm.
authors. So,
Mhm.
again, I'm quite sure it'll be a little bit more information in regards to the gala that'll be happening in September in Chicago.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be there too.
I'll be there.
Definitely, definitely be there.
It'll be
I'll
my
be
first
there a day
time.
early. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So, but yeah, just again, such wonderful collaboration and fellowship, and just being able to break bread is amazing. And so again, like I said, I want to give her kudos, and I want to give her flowers, and tell her thank you for just
Yes.
being who you are. And keep doing what you're doing, and then allowing God to guide you in what you're doing each and every day. And I tell
Absolutely.
people this, when you talk to her, it ain't nothing fake about her. She is genuine in what she does.
Well, she
And
keep it
so I
real.
thank you for all of that. So
Mhm.
before we get off this podcast, let me go ahead and show the audience the actual book cover. It's going to
Mhm.
come up between me and you, Mark, so you'll be
Okay.
able to see it. But this is the cover of the book. A
Mhm.
love letter chronicle book 2, a love letter to you, healing
Mhm.
through writing. And so, as I said before, I want this book to represent healing. We're in a
Yes.
time where we need to heal this nation. We don't
Yes.
know whether we're coming or going, but I want you all to know that you are important, that you are
Yes.
loved, and that you mean something to this world. We need to continue to stand on that knowledge that love is going to heal things. And if healing means through writing, then we're going to continue to do that. I'm going to play my part to ensure that people get the opportunity to write their love letters, to express who they are, to be able to know that they're not by themselves, that they're not in this storm by themselves. Somebody is there handing over the extending the rope to them to pull them in. And if that means that I'm going to do it, if that means that it's going to be a Pamela Coleman, that means it's going to be a She Publishing or Inspire or Allure, we're here to support those authors being able to put pen to paper and writing down their legacy, because legacy is what builds us, not to
Yes.
tear us down. And you are
Yes.
able to leave your own legacy in your own words. And so that's what we want to do. We want to continue this movement. We wanted to encourage people to understand that they're not by themselves. We don't want you to sit in despair and not understanding that there's help out there. And I can say it till I'm blue in the face. Therapy works as long as you put in the work. I don't
Yes.
want you to be by yourself, thinking that you're on this island by yourself, because you're not. I am extending the rope to you to know that your love letter is in you, and all that you need to do now is to put pen to paper. And before I leave, I always say, please be remember to check on your friends that you think are strong, because they might not be strong, especially in this climate today. Make sure you reach out to them to tell them that you love them, that you want to engage with them, that you want to break bread with them, and just let them know that you're here for them, whether it's through not even saying nothing or just saying a few words. They just want to hear it. So I want to thank you again for sharing your time with me tonight, Mr. Mark. I appreciate you. And again, this new book will be coming out May 21st. And I hope that you guys take the time to purchase it and actually see what these beautiful authors have contributed in this anthology. Without further ado, I want to tell you good night. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening, and have a productive upcoming weekend rest, whatever that it might look like for you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And for
Mhm.
again, thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Until
Thank
next
you.
time,
Right.
good night.
Night.
You are entering the studio.